the practicality.
Five. Oh,
Yeah,
no,
it's
leave
just-
it. Who's the vice chair?
The one who's not
That's
here.
who is supposed to be.
Vaughn is not going to be here. He knew that. We're waiting on Tim.
Oh, okay. So we're not, should we even be recording them?
No, it's okay for the moment. Just give it a couple minutes.
Well, if Tim doesn't show up, can the county board chair step in as chair for any committee meeting? Procedure on that.
What does Robert's rules say about a meeting where there is no quorum, other than that you can't conduct business? Can
That's,
you receive reports?
yes, yes.
You're not taking actions,
All right,
but you've got a quorum.
but I mean, that's.
So this,
Another
the question,
meeting,
the question here is, well, you have 3 out of 5.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't see Sheila.
Yeah, that's it.
Sorry.
Why not, Keith?
I guess I gotta wake up.
Check your,
Gonna retire early?
We changed the rules on the board recently to say that he counts as quorum.
But on admin, I am on that.
he's on the
Yes.
Oh,
committee,
you are.
Oh, that's right.
So we need 4.
Well, you would need 4. We don't have a quorum. I'd forgotten.
This is where intimate quorum.
Yeah, but then you have to deal with the aftermath.
Two of
And,
them around
yeah.
wouldn't hurt.
Speaking of the budget, as long as, you know, reply. We're being recorded. That's what, okay. Just talking about processes. But I agree more with you that we have to do it, you know, with them, because half the supervisors struggle with when they look at the budget, because it's so complicated. So going through line by line doesn't take that long, because 90% of the lines are pretty self-explanatory. You can just look at it and say, okay, go on. But then when you get to one that isn't, you spend a little more time on it. That's where people learn about the budget. And the meetings we've been having with departments this month have been much addressed with personal along those lines. Paul would pick it up fresh, having not seen it, and look at items that maybe have increased or changed dramatically. You know, that's usually a spark for conversation. So,
Well, anyway, items that are deleted, or items that are zeroed out, and very often, in our experience, at least that simply means that they have notation for that amount has been transferred. Well, a few years ago, when I
Mhm.
expenses to departments, that made it get back to the IT budget and also get back to
Mhm.
everybody.
The other ones that'll catch eyes is when you see the percentage change from one budget to the next. And if it's a large percentage change, that people are going to zero in on it. It's a possibility. The shift to 3 from 330.
Oh,
you know, that Tim,
I have Tim Reno's number upstairs.
Yeah.
I mean, I could pop upstairs and try to call it to him. I don't know either. Phone beeps and I say, all right. There he is.
Oh, you're on. Part of it was on. The
Yeah.
bearded part.
I see a beard.
Just leaving a message for her.
who are you?
There he.
Hello, Tim. You want to unmute yourself?
That's better.
Okay, you're actually chairing this meeting, Tim.
Oh, that's interesting.
Vaughn announced at the end of last month's meeting that he would not be here today.
Okay,
So as vice chair, this is your meeting to run.
sounds good.
We're ready to convene whenever you are.
All right. Well, let's call to order. Are we live?
We are.
Okay. I'd like to call the administration meeting for Dunn County to order. For today's meeting, it would be Thursday, June 24th, 2021. And I think we can call the roll.
We have, oh, well, I'll call it for you. Supervisor Tripp. Here. Supervisor Story,
Here.
Supervisor Lenow,
Here.
Supervisor Calabrese, and Chairman Vaughn Headland. And then finally, County Board Chair Dave Bartlett. Here. So we have a quorum.
Excellent. Has everybody had an opportunity to read the minutes from last meeting?
I'll make a motion, we accept them as printed.
I would second that.
All in favor to accept the minutes from last meeting? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Minutes are approved. And any public comments?
No
There's nobody
public
in the
comment.
room here. Krista, go ahead.
No, I received no public comments via email.
Okay, no public comments to be read into the minutes. And staff reports.
Very quickly, in the packet of materials that was submitted for this meeting, you've got monthly reports from the county manager, from the chief financial officer, from the human resource director, from corporation counsel, from the Dunn County clerk, from the county treasurer, from our criminal justice coordinator, from the chief information officer. In addition to that, I think we have do we have a report? I'm trying to recall, and I didn't see it, on extensions of LTEs this month? There were none. Okay. So any questions from any of the supervisors regarding any of those reports? We'll try to field.
Does anybody have any questions regarding the reports from department heads at this particular time? Anything from you, Mr. Miller? Any updates on COVID?
Not at this time.
Okay. Then we should be looking at the next item on our agenda then would be items placed at the request of the chairperson. Dave, do you have anything?
No,
Okay, then we'll move on to number 7, consideration of actions to be taken by the Committee on Administration. First thing that I see on here is contingency fund request, CFO search. Can Mr. Miller, you expand on that, please?
I will defer to our HR director, Heather Murray.
All right, sounds good.
I don't know, ask aloud.
Can you hear me? Okay. As indicated, the administration department has received notice that Keith Stry, our chief financial officer and county auditor, will be retiring at the end of January 2022. He has provided us with enough notice to plan for his departure and put a transition plan in place. So we are requesting contingency funds. An estimated amount for the cost is $25,000. That's based on some prior recruitments that we have utilized outside executive search firms for. That would include recruitment fees, recruitment expenses, and advertising costs. This would allow us to begin that recruitment process in the near future so that we are set and ready for a replacement in January 2022 and be prepared for Mr. Stry's departure at the end of January.
I will add, in terms of a contingency fund request, I believe this qualifies under the policies that we have as either the two are emergencies or time-sensitive opportunities. In this case, it kind of straddles that. Our CFO position is extremely important, obviously, to the operations. We want to do a nationwide search. We want to do it right. We also want to hopefully bring somebody on board where there'll be some period of overlap between Mr. Stray and whomever we bring on board to bring them up to speed with some of what's going on. There's been some rather complicated issues with respect to finances here for Dunn County that have quite a bit of background. So being able to have some overlap where the new CFO can be brought up to speed, ask questions, find out where the resources are and get those answers will simply position them to be much more successful than if we simply wait until Mr. Stray's departure and then replace somebody. So I believe it is something that that does qualify under our policies for contingency fund, and staff respectfully request the committee vote to approve the use of those funds.
I so move.
I'll second.
I've got Supervisor Tripp seconding, moving, and Chairman Bartlett seconding.
All right. Is there any discussion regarding this additional funds for the CFO search?
Sure.
Hearing none, then,
There's one.
It's not here.
okay,
You hear me, Tim?
I can't hear you, Jim.
I can't at all.
Your mic might be off.
Your mic closer.
Can you hear me now?
No.
No,
Oh, switch
I
up.
don't think it's turned on.
Oh, it may not be on.
So the lights on.
Switch mics.
How's about now?
That's good.
There you go.
More better?
Mhm.
I just wanted to express appreciation to Mr. Stry for the long advance notice. This is an important position and we want to fill it appropriately, and we want to have an appropriate amount of time for the transition. So his long lead time is very much appreciated. Although I really think that if he goes home tonight and thinks carefully about this, he'll probably withdraw this. Thank you.
In light of, to further the discussion, what kind of timeline are we looking at having someone in place? And then prior to Keith's departure, I mean, are we talking 3 months, 6 months? What kind of timeline are we kind of normally discussing?
I had been envisioning not more than 4 weeks.
4 weeks, okay.
January.
All right.
If we can bring somebody out on board at the beginning of the new year, Keith's departure is at the end of January, so that should be adequate time for overlap.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes. The next thing on the agenda is audit firm contract extension. I think that is from moving it from 22 to 23, if my estimation is correct.
And I can speak to this, Mr. Chair. This request is to extend the contract with Clifton Larson Allen, the county's longstanding audit firm. It is for fiscal years 2021 and 2022, which will, the work is done is in 2022 and 2023. The current contract expires after completion of the fiscal year 2020 audits in July. And this is really a recommendation mainly from the perspective that if you're having significant transition with the chief financial officer position turning over, not a really good time to be changing audit firms. Because when you change audit firms, there is a lot of training that needs to take place with an audit firm to bring them up to speed to the processes. and everything else, the procedures of the county, connecting them with the departments as well as staff, things like that. It is a bit of an undertaking. And I think the county benefited from the fact that when I came on board in 2018, you had a longstanding auditor that was actually in place before the transition to SAP. And then things didn't go as well as everybody had hoped. And there were a lot of reconciling that the audit firm was able to do to help bridge the gap in knowledge and so on. So it would be my recommendation that you consider doing that. Now, I did reach out to Clifton Larson Allen after talking with County Manager Miller, and they did present the proposed rates that are included in my memo, and they do represent I believe it was roughly 5%. Now, I can tell you, even if we went out to bid this next year, it's likely the costs have gone up. I can't guarantee that, but it's likely they would. And that's mainly because of the fact that the county is receiving more and more grants. And every time you have a grant, you have administration, you have reporting, and you have audits. If you recall the audit report, when you receive it in July, there's a single audit that is done. There's a schedule of federal and state awards. They have to audit all this. They have to review, they have to test. And with us receiving more and more audits, including CARES Act, Routes to Recovery last year, this year, the American Rescue Plan Act, and that will be going on for the next 3 to 4 years. There is an impact and there's a cost for doing that additional work. Plus, there's new accounting standards such as leases we now have to report and track differently than we have historically. And that takes place starting next fiscal year. It's been delayed a few times, but it will be kicking in here. So I guess the bottom line is I felt the increase that they proposed was reasonable. The current extension they're operating under actually had a modest decrease, if my memory is correct. So Clifton Larson Allen appears to be working well with us. From a performance standpoint, from an audit perspective, they have met the requirements. They've even went above and beyond in certain cases. I can say with the transition when I came on board in 2018 to help out, they were a very valuable asset. And the last 3 years, as we've cleaned up the implementation issues and financial reporting, they've been a partner working with our consulting firm. So that is my recommendation to accept or approve the contract extensions for those 2 fiscal years.
Thank you, Mr. Stray. Any discussion regarding this? Hearing none, we go.
Couple of questions. This is for the whole county, correct?
Correct. This would be actually for both audits that the county has, for the county-wide audit as well as the NDC audit.
And I know we've discussed this and I've heard the answer, but I didn't like the answer. Would a different audit firm maybe have caught a revenue line as big as $1 million in the highway for a few years that haven't been going into it? Instead of that.
The role of an audit firm is not to do performance evaluations. They report the findings that the information that's presented to them is fair and accurate. What the area that you're talking about is more of a performance. They would, the financials come from the county, they review them, they assist, they point out. Now, if we weren't showing that information, then that would be a finding. But if we're showing that it was budgeted and actual is 0, there's no finding on their part. So the role of an auditor is to test the financial, to verify the information that's being presented. The main thing is to ensure that the information presented to the county board, to holders, to those that are reading the county's financials, that the information is accurate and reasonable. With reasonable testing, it's not 100% testing. They don't test every transaction. What you're talking about is budget versus actual and why. That is not the role of an auditor. All right. I still had to ask. Yep, no, and that's fair.
Keith, I have a question.
Sure.
This is Jim. In regards, you had mentioned when we have all these additional federal grants, does this bump up the price then for the auditing firm to give a confirmation of the grants that were received, that they were used in the proper way?
That's
Is
correct.
this would be an additional charge to the county, right?
Well, that would be built into these prices are more or less locked in prices. So they've projected, they know, for example, the most recent report I had from my staff is we have over 80 grants that the county receives, large and small. And they have to evaluate all of those. Some of them they have to spend more time on than others. Some of them from federal government have more stringent requirements. Certain dollar amounts, thresholds being crossed require additional testing, meaning that they have to evaluate all the transactions and then pick out a handful to make sure down to the detail level, pulling an invoice and going all the way back to the source document to make sure that it appears valid and that it's eligible for reimbursement under the grants as we're saying they are. Again, they're reviewing what we're saying as we believe to be accurate and true. So those are the obligations that they have, and that's what they form their opinion on.
But then that would be all part of a contract a service that they provide for us then.
Correct. That's built into these engagements that are in the proposed rates.
Okay, all right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, do we need
You need a motion.
a motion to forward this contract for another year, I think it is?
The motion would be to approve the extension of the contract for the 2 years.
I would make that motion, Mr. Chair.
I'll second.
I've got Supervisor Tripp seconding.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion approved. Next thing on the agenda is the vouchers. Does anybody have questions regarding the vouchers this month?
I had a couple.
Go ahead.
On the medical expenses for the jail, that seemed a little high to me. Do we know why that is higher? Is that from the state prisoners or is that from, some extra circumstance that happened, or am I just not seeing it correctly?
Supervisor Story, are you talking about the advanced correctional health care, the
It
21,000?
was like 21,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The answer for you, unless somebody else does, I can certainly follow up with the sheriff's office and get you an answer, send an email.
Well, I just wanted to make sure, maybe Supervisor Tripp knows, but if we're paying in medical expenses for those state prisoners that we're getting, and if that might be part of that. So that's what I was wondering.
That's a possibility, but if it is, it has come up since the last meeting. We've got a meeting Monday night. We've only got a few state prisoners on board at this time because of the situation. I don't know. I looked at that number myself and tried to think about whether it was a little bit higher or not. I can't answer any more than that. I'd just be guessing.
My other question related to the, oh golly, where is it? To the landfill. Transfer station. The contractual consulting it was under that. It was like transfer station, $10,000. Is that some transitional thing? Or why were we paying $10,000 relative to the transfer station?
Well, are you talking about it says transfer station 10762?
Yep.
Yep, okay. I know that Morgan Girk and Mike Larson have been finishing up. I know that that entailed making a final removal of batteries and final recycling. I don't know. I believe this is a final recycling cost, but I can confirm that for you.
Okay. Otherwise, we would not have any expenses in the
Right.
future in that area.
That will be it. We
Okay.
actually operations and in fact cleanup have concluded at the transfer station, and that's it. We're done.
They had to have an inspection too. And
Yes.
it could be that that is wrapped into that cost, or that's what the cost is for.
What I
Okay,
can do is I'll get the invoice for that and share that with the committee.
thank you.
Any other questions by any members of the committee regarding the vouchers? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the vouchers for this month?
So
Need a
moved.
motion? So moved. I'll second. There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the vouchers for the month. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Hearing none, vouchers approved. All right, next on the agenda, consideration of reports, resolutions, ordinances to the county board from the Committee on Administration. Are there anything new developments? I see none on the list. Nothing there, okay. Number 9, announcement, next meeting, July 22nd, 2021.
3 o'clock, correct?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock now, okay. Anybody have a problem with that date and time?
No. Should I assume that
Okay.
that should be live? That there wouldn't be a Zoom meeting in that case?
Well, it's probably going to be hybrid,
Still be a hybrid, okay,
probably. Yes.
okay.
But we're still experimenting with hybrid, by the way. We don't know if it's going to be a permanent thing from now on for every committee or if we'll play it by ear. One possibility, by the way, is going back to, we'll do a Zoom meeting when we know that there's a member who wants to participate who can't be there in person.
Uh,
But yes, at this point, expect the next Committee on Administration to be hybrid. I'll also note that it's one of those rare times, Committee on Administration will meet before the county board. County board will be on the 28th.
Probably be budget related as well?
No,
Not at all?
the county board always meets on the 4th Wednesday in July because it does not meet in August. Although it will meet this August on the 11th for a special budget workshop.
Okay.
Apparently my doppelganger has frozen.
I'd say so.
And if I could, Mr. Chair, the draft audit report is scheduled to be presented on that meeting. I did confirm that with our audit firm earlier this week. That is still on target for that presentation, then the final presentation the following week at the county board. So.
Okay, so it'll be on our docket then.
Yep.
Okay, any other business to attend to in this meeting?
Mr. Chair,
Hearing none?
Mr. Chair,
We-
Wait,
Yes. Okay,
thank you. I just wanted to address the final part of the county clerk's report this month. Because I like what he did there. He noted the legislation that they're paying attention to. What I would like to see added to that is if the Clerks Association or the county had any particular stance on those bills in terms of support or non-support. I find that kind of useful, and I'm actually going to take this idea and encourage the departments in judiciary and law to do the same thing, that kind of pending legislation. It's one additional way to kind of keep track of what's going on. And this is where it really ought to come from, the departments that are, primarily impacted by the state's actions. So I want to thank the county clerk for that. And like to encourage the expansion of this idea.
All right, any other business? Hearing none, motion, we need a motion to
Oh,
adjourn.
you have the authority to adjourn it all by yourself.